And welcome everybody back to Vinyl Scoop. That was a little intro into what Cuphead music is. If you don't know, it's a mix between old jazz, big band, and especially ragtime. You could hear.
Oh
like,
yeah, a lot of ragtime, a lot of big band, a lot of very 20s-esque music. It's really, really great. One thing I thought that it'd be really prevalent to discuss is like if you look at the game, immediately the aesthetic is that of like a lot of 1930s cartoons and things like that.
I thought it was more 50s.
Or not, yeah, sorry, I'm saying 30s. I mean 1950s cartoons, right? And what's interesting is that, you know, during the 50s, a lot of the music that was used isn't really, you know, super prevalent at that specific time. It's just like the 20s and 30s and the 40s, ragtime, big band, things like that were still really prevalent as music. But during the 50s is when it started to switch over to like swing, and you got more James Brown-esque music, stuff like that.
More blues. Like it went from very upbeat to very
more like mellow. But Cuphead, you know, being like the old 50s cartoons like Tom and Jerry and things like that, use that music because a lot of those cartoons use that kind of music. Well, and it made a lot of sense to kind of mesh the two together.
The main thing that I see with Cuphead is since you're moving like very fast throughout like a level, and especially the action that's going on throughout.
Yeah, there's a lot going on screen.
The music completely fits that, like
that fast paced.
And like it's not even that like, oh, the programmers like programmed specific like sounds to come in at like a certain point. No, that's just the music. It just fits every single action scene that you're like placed into, and I find that very interesting.
Yeah, because with certain bosses, because a lot of the game is fighting bosses. Of course, you go through general levels, but when you fight a boss, you notice that they tend to move to the music itself. And that's not necessarily because it's synced up perfectly. Because, you know, if you change a phase in a boss battle or anything like that, the character moves differently. So, of course, it's going to be out of tune with the music. But they did such a good job with how they pace how the music changes according to how your character is moving and things like that. Like, whenever there's a shift change, the music changes to accompany it. It either gets faster or, depending on the boss battle, it gets slower, you know, that kind of thing. And it matches so well. Like you can notice with one of the themes we played, which I think was the last one. It's like at the very beginning of the boss battle, you hear it's time for a swell battle. Go.
Ready up.
And then it's like ding, ding, just brings in this big band just like at the beginning of anything, and then it mellows out a little bit, and then there's a constant stream of rhythm, and then and that would be at like a phase change in the boss battle. It's really, really well done, and you know, it makes it being on vinyl all that much cooler, because imagine like if you just want to play it alongside, like if you do have what you call not a gramophone, but a record player, you could put this on while you're playing the game. You don't even have to have the music in, but the music
that is completely fine. I think really any song in this could go with any boss that you fight.
That's true. That's really true.
But I think they really went the extra mile to make specific themes for each one. Like one that we listened to was Floor of Fury, I think that was it. And like seeing that whole battle like going on, like especially like since it's very early on in your whole gameplay, it really, if you listen to the music, you could anticipate what's going to be coming forward.
What's going to be coming next, how moves are not even just based on like how moves look on the screen, but there's a lot to be loved about Cuphead, from its music to its graphics to its gameplay to how frustrating it is.
Also, I think what appeals to a lot of people who originally got the game was its aesthetic. I think everybody loves looking back and like think of Steamboat Willie or Popeye and stuff like that.
Any of the old Goofy cartoons.
Exactly, just like the theme of anything could happen because it's a cartoon.
Yeah, and it was, oh my gosh, they really know how to. They had like how characters stretch and wind, like that cartoon, that Mickey Mouse aspect of things, where it's just like it's done so well that the music, you know how in older cartoons, the way that they did motion and the way that they portrayed certain actions was through music, because they didn't necessarily have like different sound bites for every single step you make. So if a character's big, every big motion they use a tuba, like boom, boom,
exactly,
boom.
Yeah. I was
and then if a character's small, you know, they use like a piccolo or a flute or something like that to just.
I mean, think of like Olive Oil and Popeye. Like
exactly. Anytime Olive Oil was on screen, she had a different theme that was more feminine, specifically to counteract Popeye's theme of like da-da-da-da-da, you know, was big. And Cuphead does that really well, because like before with Floral Fury, you're fighting this giant plant. So in tune with that, usually you think, oh, it's in nature. They probably play something soft, but you forget the giant plant's crazy.
Yeah.
So what do? They blast trumpets and they blast like they got drums in the background doing.
Oh, the drum. Oh, the one thing we need to talk about this. I think Cuphead got to a certain part of me that I didn't really think of was my love for jazz.
Oh yeah.
And the thing about jazz, it's not just the music, but it's the improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear in a lot of these songs the drums just going mad.
Yeah, they go crazy. The best part about jazz is definitely the improvisation that they put in a lot of their music, because you have with King Dice, it's like I'm Mr. King Dice, and they follow that same rhythm until they don't, until they're just like, yeah, and now we're gonna freeform it in this small, solo. That's what a lot of solos do, is they freeform jazz, and it's just it's so good. I love that this game uses jazz, ragtime, and big band all meshed together, but into great effect, and it just. I want to go play Cuphead now so I can listen to more of the music. It's just that good.
We got to set up a time for us.
We got to do that, because it's, oh my gosh. But the boss battle is definitely one thing I noticed for sure is that any of the boss battles that they have in the air, where it's like you fight
with the planes, right?
Yeah, with like the planes,
prop planes.
There's one with a robot or anything like that, or the dragon.
Well, the dragons, you're not flying, you're on clouds.
Yeah, you're on clouds. It's similar, yeah. They use a different kind of theme to fit with like flying aspects and things like that, so that way it differentiates from when you're on the ground. When you're on the ground, everything's really fast paced. You have the drums in the background, but if you listen to like, which is it, the robot theme, I believe there's not really not really as many drums. It's more high pitched, meant to be like what high flying action kind of sounds
so like more like trumpets.
Yeah, more
trumpets.
You
wouldn't hear like a tuba because you're not hearing like
you're not hearing
feet
on the ground, right? And it's just, they didn't have to do that. They could have played they could have had a set amount of themes and then just played those same kind of themes for different boss battles. But
just maybe one high pitch, maybe
one high pitch for in the air, one low pitch for on the ground. But they really took the time to differentiate each boss battle, and I think that just makes it even more spectacular. Like they went the extra mile for that, and it's probably why Cuphead's one of like people's favorite games just in general of last year. Or even the year before that.
No, I think that didn't this come out in like 2017?
Yeah, actually, you're right. What should we call it? Yeah. Because we saw the demo for it back in like 2016.
Not even. I think they released the trailer for this at E3 2013 or 14.
Holy cow!
That's when we were in high school.
Yeah,
like, and I remember with it just like it's coming out. It will come out when it comes out. And then we get in 2017.
You know what? I'm glad they took the time, because the product was pretty good, just to say. And also, I think this is one of the only games I've ever seen that actually has released like a vinyl record.
Well, funny thing you say that. They also just released, I'm not going to get it because I wasn't really fond of their soundtrack, but Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh wow,
they released
for that too.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I guess. Sure, if somebody's into
if Red Dead's known for his old Western music, I guess. Yeah.
And like I felt with that, I was just like, I don't know, because Red Dead's mostly known for its just ominous sounds. It'd be kind of weird, just like you listen, you just hear like a whistle or like grass flowing. That's all I think of Red Dead. I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more environmental than let's say like games like those where it's more open world and you're doing stuff. Unless you pause for a moment to really listen to it, you're not really going to hear the music as much. As it's not as prevalent as like in Mario or platform-based games,
or even like Zelda. Zelda.
It's super important for music, because music not only ties you to when you think of a stage, you think of the sound, but when you can't. That's it. When you think of a stage in like Mario or anything, you think of the sound that accompanies
exactly.
You think of the theme.
Once you go into World 2 here, like you obviously know that.
You appropriate, you associate it with that. You can't do that in Red Dead, because a lot of places tend to look the same. There's not really that many different levels where it's like, yeah, I remember this place because of the music. No, I remember this place because I got shot in the head when I went there, But that's I think is the difference between Cuphead and a lot of games that came out recently. Is like, even though it's from a small indie developer, it really stood out just because, not only because of the aesthetic that it chose, but just because it reminded you of a time where it's like video games were very simple. They were like run and gun. You know, you go to this place, you run through, you try to get your way to aiming, you're just trying to get to the end. You know, whatever you have to do. With Cuphead, with any of the boss battles, it's like beat the boss, avoid everything they're throwing at you, right? But the
figure
music,
out those patterns.
yeah, just figure out the patterns, and the music they put in there is just to kind of gauge or give you like the emotion that you're supposed to feel during it, because music is what gives into emotion. So the emotion that you're supposed to feel when you're fighting like the two frogs in the casino is like, oh my gosh, these guys, it's like you see all the people cheering in the background and everything like that. And it's like I'm in the middle of a basically what's a boxing match, and you know, if I'm not on my toes, on my P's and Q's, I'm gonna be done in like 2 seconds. And that's the really cool thing. Remember at the end of like whenever you die, they have those little quips that they say.
Oh yeah. They all, it's like they all rhyme too.
Yeah, they
like
all
going with
rhyme
that whole
with each
aesthetic
other.
of like the old 50s cartoons.
It's so good. It's really great. It's like and I don't know exactly what cartoons they drew from. I think they drew more from Disney than they did from like Hanna-Barbera.
You can see with the I think they took from too, because obviously they took from Disney. You could tell by Cuphead and Mugman,
how they're designed.
their eyes, their shoes, but also the gloves could also be from Warner Brothers if you think about it with Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah, that's true. The big the big like white gloves and everything. Yeah, they're definitely more, I think. Yeah, I can see it. They're definitely more designed after Mickey because the black top with the white bottom.
Exactly.
And then but the gloves, that is something. Well, Mickey had gloves too. That's true. Like he wore white gloves. Yeah. Imagine seeing Mickey's hands, man.
I don't even want to think about that. I don't.
But it's nice to see that there was a game that came out that really, like, even now we still talk about it because it's still latched on to us so much with just the kind of music that it had.
Well, now that we think about that, like you were talking about emotion and music, and I think what they were going for is nostalgia. It's like a part in our life because we didn't live during the 50s.
No, we
never experienced this kind of music, this kind of era. So being able to experience it in a format that we all enjoy, I think really brings out obviously the nostalgia, but also I can't think of what.
No. I get what
you get
saying.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it brings out this sense of you can familiarize yourself with, like, get a feeling of how people who went out on a late night or something to just listen to some swing time jazz, or after work or something like that, if that's what you want to listen to. Of course, we're experiencing a different format of a game or something like that, but for us, that just makes it even cooler because it's like, I didn't know that you could incorporate swing time music into a game like this and make it so enjoyable and so memorable. And that's because it's really, the music in that game is in your face. It's loud. It's like, it's not in the background. Like I noticed in Red Dead, like I said, you don't hear the music because it's very mellow and muted as opposed to all the other sounds you're hearing, because you need to hear those sounds. But in Cuphead, you've already, like, once you get into 1 or 2 levels, you know the sound of like the snapping of him shooting, or the sound of what the bosses do. And the bosses don't make like a lot of sounds. They make like,
no, they just make like grunts.
Grunts when they shoot out things. They're floating there, jiggling back and forth and stuff. What you're really hearing is the music in the background. So that's,
I mean, if you were to turn off the music in Cuphead, all you hear is just this.
You just hear this, and you just hear the occasional boom, boom. And then you'd be like, wow, this is
interesting.
This is a video game. So it just goes to show, like, you can't take the music away from certain games. Like I think you could take away the music from Red Dead and you probably wouldn't notice much. Of course, in certain parts where it's absolutely silent, but in games like that, like, silence kind of works because you're taking in the world more than anything else.
You're speaking in silence. One thing that definitely works is a game that you play. You actually stream it. Resident Evil.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! You don't get me started Resident Evil here.
For any kind of horror game, you need silence. That's what gives you the suspense. Think of like PT, just the ominous noises in the background, just getting you like.
Yeah, Resident Evil is such a great example of how music and moderation works so well. And I won't drone on about this, but
because he'll be doing.
I'll be here for all day, but. Really quickly, like, there is not a lot of music in Resident Evil. There's music at 2 points. One is when you encounter enemies, like a zombie, right away,
or like Mr. X.
Yeah, or Mr. X. And the only other time is in the safe rooms. Now, the difference is like with zombies, it's like it's low, but it's like it's to show you're in combat. And then as soon as you leave them, the music cuts out because guess what? Now you're back in the dark. You're back in exploring things. You're back in like now the weight of where you are is back on you again. And the other point is the safe rooms. Now the reason there's music in the safe rooms is because when you walk into a safe room, unless there's like it's already like light in there, you're not going to hear anything. But as soon as you find the light switch, you're safe. And to accompany that, they have a really mellow tone that kind of like, just to make you feel like you could take a breath of fresh air.
Like, oh, we're good.
Like,
we're good.
Okay, I'm good.
Until
Mr. X busts through the wall, but it's really well done.
Yeah.
Even Resident Evil is definitely not known for its music. I think the older games aren't because you hear music a lot more in those, but the remake isn't really known for the music for like good reason.
Well, I think they had to they need something to accompany the older versions because as they were as a gameplay of the newer games is mostly third person, right? Is there any first person or
no, not that I can remember. No.
But
really.
The thing is, Resident Evil 1 and 2 were a fixed point.
Yeah,
you were looking through like security cameras.
Yeah, that's what I said when I was talking about the review. I was like, you're looking through it like you're looking through a security camera on the corner of any hallway, and you're just running through. And when you change and you go down a different hallway, there's another security camera. Sometimes the security camera's on the ground looking up, but regardless, that's how the angles are given. Music in those games was just because they didn't really have like specific music for any.
Yeah.
Unless it was a boss battle, it didn't really have a specific music, but it was always like the same mellow, dramatic, kind of ominous tone throughout and it worked. It worked for what it was. It worked to make you feel stressed. But in the newer game, they decide, oh yeah, we're gonna make you feel stressed, but we're gonna do it by not making anything. So anytime you go into any given place at all, you're just listening to hear like for zombies or lickers or anything, and you're just like, your heart's beating 100 miles per minute.
Is there someone over here? And you're like, oh, we're good. Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
oh my gosh! Anytime you pass a given window that like you've boarded up, if there was a zombie there or something like that, they will always bang on the window. It always scare the hell out of me because I'll be like, But yeah, no. Resident Evil definitely uses music to affect like music in moderation is what I call it. It's just really, really well done. But Cuphead is the opposite of that, appropriately so, because it is a completely different game. And Cuphead utilizes music to give you an experience, to make it easier for you to remember certain parts of the game. You get to a certain part of the game, you're like, when this theme changes, he's going to do something different. I got to be ready for that,
Exactly, yeah.
And that's like, I think another game that really does it well is probably, if you heard of it, Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah, well, not even that. I think I forget the name of the game that came before that. That Cadence of Hyrule is not parodying, but it's created by the same.
The same
company.
Yeah.
But I know because it's It's not an RPG. It's
like a rhythm. It's not a rhythm game, but it's like
it's a dungeon crawler, but you're only able to move to the beat of the music.
Yeah, and it does it really well because as the beat is like doom 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 doom, your character's hopping like boom.
But also
boom,
the enemies are doing the exact same thing.
So it's also like in that game you have to learn the patterns. But when the music decides to switch up on you to get even faster, all of a sudden the patterns are harder to discern because the enemies are moving more sporadically. And it just goes to show like using music to make video games better. Video games are art because they use different tools and different aspects to make themselves more enjoyable. And it's really, really, really cool. And I like it for what it is.
And so should you.
And so should you. You should like it. You should play more video games. Don't listen to your parents. Drop out of school.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that last part. But the rest I completely agree with.
Yeah.
And definitely for all the people, if you're wondering about the songs on Cuphead, in the description there's a link to the Spotify link.
Yep.
And you could check out some of the really cool music. If you're into jazz, big band, ragtime, it'll be definitely your type of music.
Oh yeah, I think you'd enjoy it.
So now we're moving on to our last segment. So sad, but
so sad.
With all my guests, I ask, do you have any recommendations for any of the people out there? A new song, maybe an old song, an artist, or an album that you want?
Do I?
Do you? I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
that's for you to tell me.
I do. So I thought I was gonna just like, oh man, let me recommend this Billy Joel album that I love so much. But I was like, no. Let me go in theme with what we're talking about. So, in theme with Cuphead and everything like that, I thought of another game that is kind of the same way in how it's the aesthetic is very cartoony and old time, but it's also uses like jazz and big band music to great effect.
Yeah.
If you guys want to look it up, it's Skullgirls. Skullgirls Second Encore.
Okay.
You can find the soundtrack anywhere. Like you just look it up on YouTube or anything like that. Album. I implore you to listen to some of the music. It is done so very well. Skullgirls is a fighting game that was made, I think, in like 2011. By Lab Zero, Mike Z, big fan of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, things like that.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's just the aesthetic of the game is supposed to be like this. How would you say 20s esque? 20, yeah, like a 20s city, you know, kind of. What's that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Inception?
No.
Titanic?
No. Well, yeah, same time period, but no. Oh, The Great Gatsby.
The Great. Okay.
Yeah.
one of his obscure.
Yeah. That one. So in The Great Gatsby, you know, that entire aspect is what Skullgirls is all about, but also mixing that with the cartoon.
Well, that's during the Roaring 20s.
The Roaring 20s, yeah. That's exactly the kind of era that Skullgirls is all about. And it's in accordance with that, it uses jazz to wonderful effect. It's just so good.
As well as
Big Band,
a character named Big Band.
Yeah, there's literally a character in the game named Big Band who's basically made up of all kinds of trumpets, cymbals, trombones, drums. It's fantastic, and I recommend anybody who's into, you know, what we were talking about today with jazz, big band, ragtime. So I implore you to go and check it out. I have another recommendation, if that's okay.
That's okay. We still got time.
All right.
What do you got?
So I a Fire Emblem enthusiast.
Oh boy. I don't know if I'm ready for this. All right, go on.
But you know, over the years, you know, Fire Emblem music is kind of akin to Zelda music in that after some time, if you go back and listen to it, it's very 8-bit, very 64-bit.
Are you talking about really old Fire Emblem?
Yeah, but no, not yet.
Are you talking about the one that you still have to
No, not that one specifically. Okay. There was a Fire Emblem Expo like last year, right, in May.
Okay.
And with that, they released a CD. I wish it was man, if it was a vinyl like that, I would have gotten to vinyl like right away, right there. But it's a CD. It's called the Fire Emblem Premium Arrange. And what they did is they went back to a lot of the old games and they picked out certain tracks, you know, from different games that were very popular, and they remixed them using jazz and rock and roll and like guitar. It's insane. If you've ever played a Fire Emblem game, even if you haven't, it's really, really good jazz music. And it's just, I listen to it on a regular whenever I'm just doing anything because I'm like, I don't even have to care if I play Fire Emblem or not. This just sounds cool. Like this is rock and roll that they have different solos with guitars and stuff and certain themes. It just, they take, if you listen to an old thing, it's like, dun, 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 and then you hear like, you know, it's just, oh my gosh.
Because when I think of Fire Emblem, I obviously think of like Zelda, which in the they'll use that very medieval esque sound
kind of beat to give you like a feeling of
and hearing that more on like modern, like a more modern take on it. I think that'd be really cool.
Oh my gosh, it's super interesting. Of course, they have vocal tracks, but they're in Japanese, so you know you don't have to listen to that.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I know it doesn't mean. Some people are finicky about it. I don't care. It just sounds good regardless. But they have a great range from tracks that are like really hype and everything to tracks that are more mellow and still utilize jazz in a nice way that you feel like you're listening to just a nice solemn kind of track if you want to mellow out, that kind of thing. But I want more people to listen to it because there's a second one coming out this year and they have even more tracks that they added to it. And it sounds just as cool. And I can't wait. So yeah, those are the two recommendations I have. Skullgirls Second Encore and Fire Emblem Premium Arrange.
Nice.
Go and check it out.
Nice. And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for coming on, Aaron.
No problem, man. Anytime. I'm always down to shill my favorite things.
And where can people find you?
All right. So, this is my other time this show. Of course, like I said before, I have my own radio show here at WICR called Name of the Game. I do it every Monday. I hope to have you on next time.
Okay.
Of course. I talk about, you know, just the kind of things I talk about here. Some of my favorite video games. I discuss all kinds of topics. Like I just discussed Resident Evil 2. I droned on about that last time for like 40 minutes. You can find me on Twitter as well. I'm the Great Lord Chef on Twitter. You know, weird name, I know, but you know, the young chef.
It makes sense.
It makes sense if you see what my profile pic is. But you can also find me on YouTube. I stream on Twitch as well. I try to stream every Friday. you know, playing variety games, fighting games, all that kind of jazz. Yeah, but that's basically it. But give me a follow if you want to. I really want to, you know, grow and show people more of my the kind of things I like. And this is just a little taste of the kind of the way my brain works whenever we get into talking about games or music and things like that. I have a very strong passion for both. So
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes, you have a very strong.
yeah.
So if you're into any of that, definitely go check them out. All the music that we talked about today will be in the description. So definitely go check all those things out. Anyway, this has been Vinyl Scoop. I've been Steven Bizion. Check back with you next Thursday at 1, same place, same time. See you all then. Thanks.
All right, see you later.